it definitely does apply. You have to meet people where they are, you know? And so with that, it's very easy for me to say, well, yeah, if you want to do this, think about like with training, you know, we're in the new year, a lot of fitness goals are out there. Like, all right, meet me at the gym every Saturday at this time. Like, I could do things like that with the garden, but am I now twisting people's arms to do the thing? I want you to want it. What was the name of that? The breakup with Jennifer Aniston and what's the guy's name? Vince Vaughn. I want you to want to take out the garbage. Like I want you
Yeah.
to weed the garden. Like,
Well, and I think it's unrealistic. I mean,
hmm
you can't put anybody on a schedule.
yeah.
He's my son. This is going to come out wrong, but this is the only way now to say it. I can do what I want. I can
hmm
have him do what I want, but it's only for a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem was, with the carrots, you don't see what's going on.
hmm
And and there's such a gap in between. Like it's not active enough to where it's like, hey, let's go out on, like you said, let's go out on Tuesdays and see what we
hmm
can do. Like you can do that at first, but then it's like it goes weeks. I mean, sometimes you know how it is. You plant a garden, you could walk away for 2 weeks and not even look at it sometimes, and it wouldn't be much of an issue. But then you go back and you're like, well, now I have to do this. And so it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. And it's tough to get a 10-year-old in that mode. And the other problem is I'm here and I'm running it myself. And
Yeah.
so when I see something that needs to get done, I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it.
You're
And I
more
need to
inclined to
kind
do it.
of
Yeah.
back off and just say, hey, but at the same time, when you're working in a small space, every square foot matters. And I
Hmm
can't let it go to waste because that's our family's food. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it is what it is. I think if I catch it at the right time and I get my cabbages in the ground at the right time and I can get them to run it as it progressively gets warmer and warmer, I think I can catch them. But he has stated that he wants to do it, so we'll see. But enough of
Yeah.
that. Let's go into
Okay.
yours because I don't want to go on about my solid D minus.
Well, all right. Number three. And that's D as in David, not B as in Batavia
Yeah.
or builder. So consume slash waste. You know, he could have at least Leonard could have organized these where it was like you made it, you didn't, you made he knows which ones we hit as far as these goals. This is a lot of like, under 70% passing rate for these goals. Consume slash waste. So the sub bullets are eat from the garden every week. Be very, very intentional about what I'm consuming. There are two varies. That's a quote. So we talked about like I'm not focused on zero waste, and how this is. And you added this note when we were talking. Like this is more of a kind of lifetime goal, right? Clearly we're not growing food to continue to waste it, and this is a hard one to kind of grade myself on, or even it's not a happy one, right? It's not necessarily like a really, really fun goal anyway, but it's realistic when it comes to like, again, you don't want to be growing food just to throw it away or waste it. And it's hard for me to really judge this one. So maybe I'll what I think happened, and you can tell me how well you think I did or didn't do on it. Um, we talked about the cucumbers, about how I don't remember if I gave 70 or 80%, like vast majority of my cucumbers last year were bitter waste, right?
Yeah,
So,
so in the last episode we did where you talked about that was actually this
mhm.
is where you lost internet connection. So if
Oh,
you
okay.
could give us like a minute worth of what happened
Yeah.
just so
If I
people
could
could catch up. Yeah.
relive the
The
trauma of the
yeah,
cucumber, sure, absolutely. I'll do
all
that
for
for
the
y'all.
public. It's okay.
No, good call out about, yeah. So apologies for the internet connection woes. We're trying to work through some of that as we are on the videos. So cucumbers, I wanted to do about 12 jars, like 12 quart-sized jars of refrigerator pickles. That was my only goal. Of course, I was going to eat some cucumbers fresh. So I planted cucumbers in two places. And from the very first cucumber to like some of the final ones that I harvested, the very first one was bitter. The majority of the cucumbers were bitter. I was cutting and tasting every single cucumber. Now, I didn't look up anymore after we talked about it in one of the last episodes last year, but I'm attributing it to inconsistent watering. Young Bien added, stress for plants can lead to some bitterness. That was something that he had read on as well. I think they're kind of one and the same. So inconsistent watering can stress the plants out. And it was just really, really frustrating. I didn't get to the 12 jars of pickles. I didn't share this then, but I also kind of I screwed up the vinegar water ratio. So my brine solution was kind of off. So the cucumbers that I did turn into pickles weren't the best that I've had. I am eating those, so I am consuming
Mhm.
those, but generally speaking, it was kind of like I mentioned cucumbers mean summer, they mean a garden, they were the first thing I grew in, one of the first things in my very first garden, so it holds a special place for me, and I really enjoy them. Now on the flip of it, I did also have, cucumbers all the way up until, like, early November, a few here or there, because the last fall was kind of really, really weird, but anywho, so cucumbers were an example of some waste. I just shared about the carrots, right? You end up throwing a lot of those out. Probably about as many tomatoes died on my dining room table as normal each year. So I didn't eat from, it's kind of pretty clear if I met this goal or not, as I said out loud. I didn't eat from the garden every week, like I said I would, but I did eat from the garden